It is my privilege to introduce Stacie Woodward, and it's a great story, and I'm happy that she would come and share her story. This is our first time to job team and our last time to job team.
It is, and I'm having a moment as I'm seeing everybody. I'm like, oh, I feel like I maybe missed an opportunity. Um, but that's a mistake I think I made by not joining.
So it's all you.
Thank you. So yeah, I because I haven't joined, please guide me or pull me back if there's anything that I'm saying or should be saying, more or less of. But I met Steve a few months ago. Let's see, where do I even begin? My background is in radiology. My formal training is in radiology. I spent my entire career working. Well, I left the hospital about 20 years ago, and I've been in the industry side ever since. I was in the majority of my career has been in startups. And so I've always had this love for being on the tip of technology and bringing to market different procedures, medical devices, et cetera. And so there is part of the nature of startups is there is the potential for it working or not, and you could lose your job or be acquired. And so there's always risk that's with that. And so that's something that I'm very used to. I lived in New York City up until very recently, and I moved. It was about a year ago. It was around this time last year that I actually was in conversations about a new opportunity. And when it became, when I knew that I could live anywhere I wanted to live, I decided I wanted to leave New York for many reasons. It's an amazing place. And it was one of those things where I realized like I'm living so many people's dreams, and why do I feel like it's not the right thing for me anymore, right? It was like the big dream, and then I knew I needed to move on, but what did that look like? And so I had talked with a man in our C-suite and just different opportunities, and I got an opportunity that would allow me to leave New York City. So I decided to come to Utah. So what I did there is I worked with a company. We did stroke prevention as a procedure that I brought to market in the New York City market. Um, and it required me being in the hospitals every single day and in the operating room. And so I wanted to be closer to family, which is all out here. And so I was super excited about this opportunity. And I didn't think I would move to Utah, but surprisingly I did. And I knew like this was just like this was I feel like a Brigham Young statement, like the right place. But I knew it was the right place for me right now. And so I moved to Utah, and I'm literally moving west, and the announcement for an acquisition is made. And I call and I said, it's over. And I know it's over. And they kept saying, no, 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 your job is super important. And then they agreed. They're like, it probably is, but don't worry because you a wealth of knowledge and you're such an expert in this, and we'll find you another place. And so I believed him. I get to Utah. I'm still trying to get my feet under me with the new job. And it's really like not happening because behind the scenes is all this acquisition stuff. And I wish I could say that what we were being told was the truth, but the reality was they were making plans to lay everybody off. And so that's why it felt weird and we weren't able to get our feet under us as much as we were hoping. So I get the call that my position has been eliminated. They don't need anybody in Salt Lake City. And if I want to go back to New York, then that would be an opportunity. And I didn't want to go back to New York. And so what I wanted to share, I guess, with everybody. And this is where I'm like, oh, I wish I would have come to these groups because I would have gotten to know some of you a little bit more, and it probably would have made this a little bit more personal, I guess, in our interaction. But I took down some notes, and I just want to share with you some things that I found to be really valuable. The day I got the call, I cried. I wanted to think I was very stoic and very like it's fine and I'm talented and everything's going to be okay, but it was a gut punch. And I felt like I brought so much to this team. I had worked in a cross-functional manner for years and years and years. And in some ways I felt a little embarrassed. Like why didn't they why didn't they find a place for me if I was so valuable, you know? And so what I realized, I didn't know at that time, but what I realized is everybody was laid off, except for like, a few little spots is mostly sales. So I quickly had to realize it wasn't personal. It was just the reality of what happens during acquisitions. And the company didn't know what they didn't know. And so they made the decisions that they thought that were best. They didn't invest in getting to know us. They just said, oh, here's a person in Salt Lake City. We don't need that. And so here's a couple of things I just wanted to share with you. Let me go back to my notes. I tried to email them to myself and they haven't come through on the screen. So the biggest thing was just finding strength in it all and our mindset and how we approach all of this. I think unemployment happens to not most people. I think a lot of people will experience it, or like somebody close to us will experience it at some point in our lives. And so there's no shame in it. It's very emotional, of course. I'm sure all of us have experienced that. And that was one thing that I realized really quickly, is that I needed to pause and like really process my feelings, because I knew that if I didn't pause and take care of myself, that energy would come through in my interviews, and I didn't want that. And so I know that there's a cycle of loss that we go through, with the denial and anger and all of that, and eventually acceptance, right? And so our company offered the services that it's Steve's company, and I didn't take advantage of it. People kept reaching out to me, and I kept saying I wasn't ready until I was. Because I needed to get into the mindset that I was just in a transition phase and that everything was going to be okay. My mom has a little sign or a picture on her wall that says, the end of the road, or no, the bend of the road is not the end of the road unless you refuse to take the turn. And so that went through my mind a lot of like, it's just a bend in the road. And I also remember thinking at the time, I loved my job so much. I believed so much in what we were doing that I would have stayed there for forever. And so I had to get in a mindset of trusting that the universe had my back, and that I knew that this was for my good. And there was probably something better for me that I would have never had the experience or the exposure to, or it could have been like right underneath my nose, and I would have never seen it because I've been so focused on what I was doing at the current employer. And so I really had to like shift my mindset a lot around like, this is for my good. The universe has my back. Everything's working in my favor, and trusting. So I gave myself some time to just be with family, to get a little bit more settled where I was. And this all happened in October. And so, or November, it was the Friday before Thanksgiving. And so I thought, I'm just going to be with my family and I'm going to enjoy the holidays. And then the holidays came and went, and I knew I wasn't ready. And so I went on vacation. And that was one of the best things I could have done, is just taking myself away from Utah, from all the emotions, from everything, and just spend some time away. And so we went to Hawaii, and I'm really glad that I did that. And it's not so much about Hawaii. It was just the fact that I pulled myself away, and I was able to get a lot of perspective and clarity, and I came back and I was ready to go to work. And that's when Steve and I started talking. And so, a couple things too, I want to share, like just through my journey, as much as like the interviewing and using my network, and probably things that I think we all know, is that I really focused a lot on my sleep hygiene, getting out every single day and having a walk. I knew that the vitamin D, I knew that the sun on my skin would be really helpful for me. I kind of had my my rituals every day. It threw me off. it completely threw me off. I used to get up and I would go to the hospital and then I'd go have my coffee and then I would take some meetings, and later in the evening, a couple times a week, I'd go to Pilates and I had my Sunday brunch, and I just had this routine that I would do, and all of a sudden my routine was gone. And so that was one thing I knew that I needed to get back into that. So there were a few things that I really made a priority, and that was my sleep and going for a walk every single day. One thing I did do, and is I would get on social media and just, scroll and scroll. And I realized how detrimental that was to my mental health. And so I'm just putting that out there, is that it was so easy to just mindlessly go through social media. And so once I realized that, like, I had to be really cautious and very aware of it, because I tell you all of this because I knew that the energy that I was holding would go into my interviews. It would go into any conversations. And I didn't want that. I knew I needed to be I needed to be in a healthy, positive place. So what did I do to get a job? I went onto LinkedIn. I put all of those little parameters around. I had to get really clear of what I wanted, because I could continue doing what I was doing. That would probably be the easiest way to get a job, but I knew I wanted something different. I had literally a year ago asked for something different. I got something different. So the easy thing would be to go back to what I was doing. And it was tempting. I'm not gonna say a little tempting. It was very tempting to do that, because I didn't have a job and I needed an income. And so some of us have the luxury of being able to take a little bit of time, and some of us don't. I think it depends on where we're at financially and how quickly we need a job or we need an income. But I got really clear on what I wanted. I've put my parameters very specifically in LinkedIn, so that I would see different job opportunities that would come through. And it inspired me for sure, just to see, okay, there's opportunity out there. And then I started to reconnect with the people that I know and I know who care about me, and was checking in. I wanted to see how they were doing, and also, share where I was at, and just trying to be really conversational, asking people to look out for me. And then also at the same time, looking out for them too, because we all were kind of in it. And that's when I started, that's when the conversations and the invitations for, like, hey, maybe this job or that job would come. So I utilized my network. Yesterday I was having brunch with some friends, and one person had told me that they have worked at their current employer for 30 years. And I thought, my gosh, how much I admire that somebody could be at a place and have that much stability for that long and be an expert in that particular company, and just how nice that would be. Because for me, my jobs last anywhere from 3 to 4 to 5 years. This last one was 7, but the company is always seller, something happens. So that's just the nature of my career. So one thing she said to me was that if I lost my job, I wouldn't know what to do, because everybody I know works here at my current employer. So I had a pause, and I thought, just kind of a moment of gratitude, of maybe with the volatility of what happens with startups, it's allowed me to get to know a lot of people over the years. And so I did check in with people that I love and that I trust, and I knew would have my back. I did not put an open to work on my LinkedIn. I can't say that I wasn't opposed to it. I just didn't do that because I wanted to be really intentional of where my energy went, because I knew I could not hold space for other people's. I had to be careful what energy I let into my life, because I absorb other people's energy, and I didn't want to hold space for something that could drag me down. So that's what I did. I reached out to people. I checked in with people, and I'm so grateful for the people who checked in with me. And because about, I don't know, 80% of the company was laid off, we were checking in with each other, and several people then said, hey, you should talk with so-and-so, or hey, our company's hiring, or this is a name you should reach out to. And so I did. And I even went so far as to, if there was a company I was interested in, maybe I didn't know anybody, like I didn't know the hiring manager, or didn't have anybody who knew the hiring manager, but I would see somebody who maybe worked in that area, and I would just reach out and say, hey, I'm very interested in this job and I'm looking to put in an application. I see that you work there, or hey, I see that you covered Utah in the past, or whatever. Would you be open? And can I tell you, people are so good. And so many people said yes. I can't really even think of anybody that said no. Everybody said yes. And so I would have brief conversations with them, and then, I would get so hopeful, and I'd have these conversations and doors would open. And then I had to be honest with myself. Many occasions I was like, this isn't the right thing for me. And I know it. I got really clear with myself at what I wanted, and I knew that this wasn't right for me. And then um a woman that I had worked with, she was the executive VP over our clinical affairs division at the previous company. She was Her position was eliminated before the ink even dried on the paper last fall. She was through the first round. I was the second round of layoffs. And so I kept in touch with her from a genuine place of like, just how are you? And have you landed? And what are you up to? And are you okay? And how's your family? And I got a text from her, and she asked me, how I was doing, and if we could catch up. And I thought that's what we were doing. And in her new job, she had just started, and she had just gotten back from an overseas trip. And she said, it became very apparent to me, I need someone like you on my team. And there was something that came alive in me that I hadn't in any other conversations or interviews. And so we spoke, and I told her I was very close to, I had received a verbal offer at this point from another company that in my heart I knew wasn't right for me. So I told her that, yeah, this is what I'm doing and where I'm at. She moved pretty quickly. She wrote the job description, got it all posted online. I know legally, I think in the state of California, you have to do that, and that's where they're based. Had to be posted for a certain amount of time. And so I thought, oh, I've got it. And then I realized, oh no, I had to go through rounds and rounds and rounds of interviews, from the CEO to all of the BPs, across all these divisions. And they flew me out to California, and I had to do 10 rounds of interviews in a day. And I was fried by the end. I felt like everything went pretty well, but I didn't know. And then I didn't hear from anybody. And again, I just had to like keep my, like, had to be really aware of how I like my mind chatter, and what I was saying to myself. And I tried to stay really positive. And then I got the phone call that they were super excited to make me the offer. And so I did. I got the offer, and I signed last week. And now I signed on Friday. And now this week I need to let other people know that I've accepted a job, and I'm not going to continue conversations. One thing I think is really important in the job search is, I think ghosting is so absolutely cruel. And I know so many people, as we have these conversations, like they're just like goes like this silent, like this, I don't know, this pit of silence. And I don't like that. And so I don't want to do that to somebody else. So I'll go back and I'll tell the people that I've been talking with, like, thank you so much. And this is where I've landed, and really appreciate it. So um, that's my experience. It's so easy to tell our story when we're sitting in a good place, or when we're sitting from a place of security. And so I can look back and say, yep, but I was right. Like, the universe had my back, and something better was waiting for me, and there were silver linings all over the place. And I believe all of that. I believed it as it was happening, but there were definitely moments. And so here I am, and I'm super excited. And I start next Monday. I'm going to be heading up this is a heart failure company. It's a startup, another startup. And if this device works, it will certainly change the way that heart failure is being treated. It's years away from commercial, but I will be heading up the clinical division and building out everything for the clinical trial. Everything is in Eastern Europe right now, so I'll be traveling to Georgia, Republic of Georgia, um, and we will be doing the first in human trials over there, and eventually bring it to South America, and then hopefully with maybe in a year or so bring it to the United States. And as long as the clinical trial goes well and we get the results that everybody's hoping for, then we'll eventually bring it commercial. So it's that's been my career always in multiple different companies. I'm super excited about it. This will be the first time that I'm actually building the entire division and building out the team, writing all the curriculum. So I'm super excited. I'm really grateful, and I'm glad I took the time that I did to go after the job that I wanted. So that's my story. So here I am. And I'm prepping this next week for being ready to go back to work. I kind of wish that I had I had this moment. I was like, oh, I wish they would have said like, oh, do you want to start, September 1st or whatever, just that security of like, oh, I've got a job now. I can kind of like breathe, but I'm excited to get back to work. So that's my story.
So, Stacie, I have a couple questions, and then one of our things is I let other people ask questions, but I have two things. Will you tell people? I think it's fascinating what you did, and I don't think your story quite told what you were doing when you were in surgery with doctors and what you will be doing in surgery with doctors or taking the place of maybe an engineer that's doing that right now. And then also will you tell about your previous company, the conversations? Yeah, well, have her call us. And then they finally call. Will you tell that part of that story?
Yeah. Yeah. So this past company I worked for was truly the honor of a career. Um, so we brought to market a device that or it's not a device, it's an entire procedure that completely changed the way that stroke prevention is treated or is, well, the approach to stroke prevention. And we gave surgeons another tool in the toolbox. And it's really important. Well, the reason why I say that is that whatever tools you have, then you look at your patient from the approach of, well, this is what they need and this is what I have. And so you do your best to make it work. And this procedure changed the game. Um, the results are phenomenal, more minimally invasive, less time in the operating room, easier recovery. And that's why I say it was just such the honor of a career, is because we did so much good. And I'm so passionate about getting up every day, knowing that I'm doing something good in the world. And that looks like so many different things for everybody. And this just happens to be my way. And so I consulted on every single patient. So we trained all the surgeons. And then once they were certified, the FDA is very strict on how you do these things. So I would be certified. I would consult on all their patients. I'd plan out the surgeries. And that was via just like reading like CAT scans, ultrasounds, MRIs, all of that. And so I would plan everything out. And then, make sure we have all the devices there. And then I was in the operating room to make sure that the procedure went perfectly. And Steve had a lot of questions about this because this is an insight that most people will never see or maybe even know exists. Surgeons, they know how to be surgeons really, really, really well. But when a new technology comes to market, they know how to do the cut down. They know wires and needles and catheters and all that. But my job was to say, make sure that you cut to this point, avoid this, make sure you go up to this line. The wire can only go this far. We're looking for this mark on we use a lot of radiation in it so we could see everything. And so that's where my job came in, is to make sure everything meticulously went as perfect as possible. The end organ was the brain, so there's just little to no room for any error. And so the way I would describe my job, if I was to simplify, I would say just partnered with surgeons to make sure that their patient got the right procedure. And many times it wasn't the procedure that I represented. But we were in such partnership for them to say, will you look at this and tell me, can we do it this way? Or like what I could do. And if it wasn't the safest option, then we'd say, no, we can still do the other ways. So it was really quite rewarding to bring it to market, to train everybody. New York City is very academic, so I worked with a lot of medical students, residents, and fellows. And so every day I was teaching and I loved it. And that's one of the reasons why I knew that the next thing I did is I wanted to have a lot of teaching. And that's why I'm so excited about this new job, because I will be writing all the curriculum and being able to train everybody. At the next job. And I'll still be in the operating room. I'm going to be spending some time in California, actually out at UC Davis. There's a couple of heart surgeons and heart failure specialists out there that have welcomed me in, and I'll be spending time with them so I can really understand heart failure, and then we can, take it over to Georgia. So what's really interesting, and I think this is where like it was such a blow to me when the layoff happened, is that I was so early in the previous company, and I was like a wealth of knowledge and experience. And so what I didn't understand was, why did you not keep me and allow me to just like be in a different seat on the bus? Why did you just kick me off the bus? Like I didn't understand. And surgeons were baffled. One surgeon went to the CEO of the acquiring company and he was like, I get acquisitions, like there's some moving parts, but like you don't get rid of your talent, you don't get rid of the knowledge. And it made me feel good. And I think it did give me a little boost, like it's all going to be okay. So what's interesting is that company has called me so many times. Um, and what they've done is they'll go through people who know me. And so I'll get these calls and they'll say, hey, so and so that you don't know was wondering if you'd want to come back and do this job. Oh, hey, we were in Dallas at a meeting and your name came up. Wondering if you'd be interested, come back. And every single time I would say, have them call me. I would love to have a conversation. And um, and they wouldn't call, but they would just send another contact to call me and ask me, would you be interested? And I would say, have them call me, have them call me. And so finally, somebody did call and asked me if I would come back. And so we're now currently talking about consulting. He said he would like it to be full time. And I said I would be happy to have a conversation about per diem. And I can and the biggest thing is he said, I need somebody who can go into any operating room with any surgeon at any time. And when shit hits the fan, they know how to manage it. And I was like, well, I can do that. But now we got to do it on my terms. So that feels really good. I could have never predicted that this would happen. But with the current new job, if I'm not traveling, I can hop and I can live anywhere in the world that I want. And so I can hop into somebody's operating room and I can do a procedure. They're typically the first case. So I can go in and do a 7 a.m. procedure and still do my normal, my new job. So we're in conversations about that right now as well. But that was a real roller coaster having them call and then it would go silent, call, go silent. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, okay, all signs in the universe are pointing like this is a good thing. Move on to something new. But it also, it just is what it is. The company didn't know what they didn't know. They made their business decisions for whatever reason that they did. And so what I would say to myself, and I think it applies to me and to everybody, no matter what, is that it's not personal. What we go through is not personal. It's business. It sounds so cliche, and I know it. And it was the mantra over and over and over again. You're talented. This isn't personal. The universe has your back. An opportunity is coming and it's going to be really better. So, yeah, so that's where it is. So I'll be kind of doing a lot of the same things that I did before and more. And so that's where I'm at. I don't know, does that answer, Steve?
Yeah, it does. I just let that fill in a gap for that I knew, but maybe everybody else didn't. So as tradition is I have people I line up. First person actually is clapping, but I'm also going to put him with you, and that's Mike.
Oh, hi, Mike.
Hi, Stacie. Congratulations. Oh,
Thank
hold on.
you.
Oh, okay. I did get unmuted. There's this pop-up on the screen that confused me for just a brief moment. Um, would you mind repeating there was like a 4-item mantra there at the end? Is that?
Oh, what I would say to myself?
Yes.
Yeah. Um, oh,
Something
so
like the universe has your back and something better is coming and it's not personal. And what was the other one?
it's not personal. It was business. It wasn't personal. Universe has my back. The bend in the road is not the end of the road unless you refuse to take to the turn is what the sign was. Um, and yeah, there's something better waiting for me. So those were the things. Yeah. I can't tell you how many times I said, I know the universe has my back. I don't know if any of you are Tony Robbins fans, but remember Tony Robbins many years ago said, everything that happens is for us, not to us. And I can't tell you how many times that went through my mind. I'm like, this is for my good. I don't understand but the universe has my back. It's all going to be okay.
Good
So that,
stuff. Yeah, I learned a long time ago the energy you put out is reflected, at least to a large extent, by the energy that you get back.
I like that. It's very true. And that was one of the reasons why I had a very dear colleague who she maintained her job, and she would call, and she got real nervous for me because I definitely wasn't moving at the pace that she wanted me to. And then I just said, I'm not ready. I don't want that energy to go out. I'm hurt and I need to heal a little before. And so it's true. I really believe that that energy is felt. So yeah, so that was, I protected that as much as I could.
Smart.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I see in some of the oh, Mike, it was you, startups plus risk plus rewards. It is. It's a high risk and high reward gig. and and I love it. I've been with a couple of companies that have failed. This is not my first time I've been laid off. It's actually my third time. And then I've been with others that were wildly successful. And so I do know, because of that, I've always had to put myself in a position financially to know that if anything happens, I have to be, I had to always be okay. Um, so that was something that's why I was able to take the time, is because I had planned knowing that could potentially happen at any point.
My
Stacie,
third also.
oh,
What
Okay,
was
go
that?
ahead, Steve.
no, I just gonna say, to go with what Mike is saying, will you share your little mantra about if this doesn't work out? I think that's really healthy for everybody. You said, hey, if it doesn't work out,
Oh, yes. Um, this was one thing, yes. If it works out, it's going to change the way heart failure is treated. If it doesn't work out, I learn a lot. So it's all going to be okay. No matter what, it's going to be okay. Steve and I were talking last week, and one of the other things that's always been really important to me in business is that everybody wins. The patient has to win, the docs have to win, I have to win, the company has to win. It can't just be about the company, making a quota or, whatever, and everybody has to win. And so that's when I look at this and I'm like, this is a win-win. Works out, then it changes heart failure. If it doesn't work out, I learned a lot. It's a win. Either way, it's going to be okay.
Mike, any other questions? Okay. This is random. Next up is Rennie.
Congratulations, Stacie. That's great stuff there. Love your message.
Thank you.
I don't have a whole lot, but basically, I'm a big structure and routine person myself. And you had mentioned something about that earlier. How do you figure you're going to fit your new routine into your new normal for your new job?
Oh, I know, right? I'll tell you honestly, that's a genuine concern I have because of international travel that I was not looking for. And so I was so structured when I lived in New York. Moving to Utah really threw me off. I think I'll still do it. I'll do it all the same ways, but I actually have a doctor's appointment tomorrow because I need to talk with the doc about, like, how do I in a healthy way switch my body back and forth between different time zones. So that's one of the things that I'm definitely but I think I'm still just the same. Exercise, and even if it's just like a walk. Living in New York City, we walk all of the time, everywhere. And so that was just a natural part of my day. And then I realized here I actually had to be conscious about it. My body was really missing it. So I know I'll have to keep doing that. Just get out and prioritize my sleep.
Nice. Thank you. That's all I had.
Yeah.
Congrats again.
Thanks, Rennie. Next up is Oliver.
Hey, congratulations, Stacie. Thanks for sharing your story. Quick question for you. You said that, kind of when you first got laid off, you weren't ready to be making any progress as far as looking for a new job or a new career. Didn't want to take that energy with you into interviews. How did you know? What changed? How did you know that you were ready to start looking, be open to interviewing and be in a good headspace for that?
A really good question. Um, it was almost like there was a shift in me, like an energy shift in me. I felt like, so my friend Jennifer is her name, the one that's she was just so wonderful, would reach out, she would send, I saw this job you'd be amazing at, you'd be so good at this, like, hey, call this person. And she was always looking out for me. And I could feel like every time I would read it and I go, she's right. But there was like almost like a block, like I could just feel myself, like I couldn't take that step. I knew I wasn't ready to take that step. And then there was a shift. And it was after I came back from Hawaii that I was just felt like this heaviness kind of lifted. And I was like, I'm ready. I haven't interviewed in a long time, so I was really rusty. And it was a little bit I was aware of that, but there was an energy shift in me. I could feel like before I was like, and I think to be honest about it, I think there was a moment of like this depression of just like, it was so sad. And so I think because of that, like I didn't have that like oomph or whatever to make the step. Whereas, and I won't say I was depressed, but I think there was moments of just like, I don't even, I wish I had the words, and this is a really good question. There was like this cloud lifted, this heaviness lifted, like this, like, oh, I'm ready. I could feel it. And then I was ready to come back and like that energy I could put into it. And I can't say every single day I felt that way. There were some days I didn't. And so I didn't give the energy to it, but there was a shift. I don't know if you ever felt that, like where you could just feel like you just got it in you today, but I don't know, maybe the rest you didn't.
Yeah, I know for me, I saw some articles recently about some studies in psychology that are looking at happiness of all things.
Mhm.
And they came to the conclusion, at least these particular studiers, that one of the uh, worst things you can do in looking for happiness is to try to be happy. That what you need to do is find things to focus on that happen to also make you happy. You need to volunteer. You need to spend time with your family. You need to, and I know kind of in my process, I somewhat similarly. I mean, I was ready to be let go from my last job. It wasn't a terrible thing career wise for me by any means, but yeah, when you spoke about having, that bad energy, I guess I'm not sure exactly the phrasing, moving forward and not wanting to take that with you into interviews, that really resonated with me. And I know that for me, spending time focusing on my family, focusing on my career growth and what the next step would be, was something that really helped me. So yeah, thanks very much for sharing that part of your story. I found it very, very useful and very interesting.
Oh, I'm glad to hear. Yeah, you're welcome. Do you know when you talk about like the studies, one thing I will say that I did that I didn't share with you all is I was very intentional about specific podcasts I would listen to, different influencers I would listen to. Um, and that really helped me because it kept me in a really positive mindset.
Thanks so much.
All right. Next is Dallas.
Hi, Stacie. Just want to thank you very much for your message. I don't necessarily have a question. I wish I was as I don't know. I I feel that the universe is conspiring for my greatest good, but I usually overthink it. But I've felt those shifts in my energy. But I try to get ahead of them, I guess. I don't know. I spend a lot of my energy um kind of pursuing something that I think my energy or my gut says isn't going to go anywhere anyway. So I'm just kudos to you for sort of like waiting it out and kind of just trusting. Yeah, I don't necessarily have a question. It's really inspiring message. I'm glad I came today.
Good. You know, one thing that just came to mind, and this is something that somebody said to me that really helped, is they said feelings are meant to be felt.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
easy to want to be, they push away all the hard, and not, because we have to like focus on, I need a job, I need to pay the bills or whatever. And that was really helpful advice to me, was to feel my feelings. And it was sad.
Yeah, you got to
It
just kind
helped
of
me to
go
move
go
through it.
through it.
Yeah. But it allowed me to move through it pretty quickly as a result.
That's amazing. Thank you for your story. Appreciate it.
Okay. Next is Carly.
Hello. Sorry. Messaging people on LinkedIn because I'm trying to network. Um, I don't know that I have particularly any question, but thank you for being on here and being like a role model. You're like super cool, and that's everything I would want to be. Like you are the aspiration of what I would want to be as a career woman. Just super successful and able to get whatever you want. Um,
Thank you.
Everything you said aligned with what I think and feel, especially with like the universe is out there for our good. And I really liked the quote that you gave about it's what was it, the bend in the road? It's not the end of the road, but just a bend. And I haven't heard that before, so I'm going to use that moving forward when I talk to people.
Good. I'm glad that helped you. And actually, Carly, when you were sharing um your background, I have a brother-in-law who works in some stuff with that maybe we should connect. He's
Yeah,
at a level of influence in his company. So let's connect. I can maybe understand a little bit more.
let's do it.
Okay. Thank you. Next up is Tim. He's got a hand up and he was next anyway.
Hi, Stacie. How are you? I really liked a lot of your reflections that you actually had during your kind of your overview, and I kind of felt sort of going down a very similar path that where you were going at, and the one thing I think that was really caught my attention was you always seemed like you were having these connections with people that you worked with in your industry, people that wanted to kind of reach out to you to get this question. And it always feels kind of good when that happens. And because it seems like you have a lot to offer and a lot of things to bring to the table. But I guess one thing I think what I found, and this was kind of something similar, was you, there's this feeling of frustration when people have the intent to reach out to you, but it never happens, and you go through this constant assessment of yourself thinking, gosh, do I really have anything to bring to the table? Am I really not really worth it? Do I feel, almost kind of discouraged that, people are just ignoring me? Um, and just from my standpoint, as I was going to ask you is, did you actually have any feelings of desperation? Like you really just need to get out there and talk to people, or you seem to kind of handle it very well. You kind of went back and said, wait, I'm not really ready. I'm not really ready to make that, feeling to just jump right in full on and get something else. I kind of wondered where you kind of drew the line there.
Mhm. So do you know, okay, so I'm going to answer this in two parts. One is when you say, the people and like reaching out. I do have a pretty vast network. And I think all of us, if we like think about it, we know a lot of people. I was actually very surprised at how few people reached out to me. And and not that people didn't, I just thought like maybe more people on the team would have or whatever. And it was interesting insight. One of my very close colleagues told me that this is on the New York team, said that they were all at a meeting and people had asked how I was doing, didn't realize that was even part of the layoff. And then because I'd left for Utah, and so they didn't know. And then one person said, I want to call her. I don't know what to say. It would, and it was one of those things where, I get it. I think it was shocking to a lot of people. And so I think some people just don't know what to say. They care, they don't know what to say. And then what was the other thing that you said was, oh, and that's where I knew that for me that I couldn't, like if people reached out to me, I would certainly have the conversation, but I knew that I couldn't reach out to them until I was ready.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. It was kind of along the lines I was kind of wondering, was there a feeling that you felt a little bit isolated, like you really just wanted to force yourself to reach out to them to really, get something, just jump out and put your full out there just to kind of see if you were going to get another job or you were just going to want to make the connections. Was that feeling of desperation in some sense?
um, yeah, I think I had moments where I was like, girl, you gotta do this.
Yeah.
You got to start reaching out to people and saying like people care. Because
Mhm.
I also I felt rejected. And so I didn't want anybody to reject me further. And so, and then I would have to get out of that, that loop in my brain and be like, hold on, like these are your colleagues. You worked with them for years. And I'd have to be honest about the relationship. I'm like, we worked great together. And so calls, I was very intentional about who I called. Um and in my conversations, I was genuine about like I wanted to know how they were doing. Some of them still had jobs, some didn't. But I wanted to know how they were doing because even what I've learned since is those who are there, it's been really hard, and many people are leaving voluntarily. And so it's so easy to tell ourselves stories that aren't true. And so and when I say that, meaning somehow that maybe I just wasn't important or valuable or whatever. Of course I was. And so I did reach out to people intentionally who I trusted. When I say trusted, meaning like um, that they wouldn't make my loss about them, or they wouldn't try and downplay me and say like, they try and make all of it seem like it's no big deal. I was intentional about who I reached out to. And that it was then those people were like the ones who would say, reach out to this person or reach out to that person. But I did have to, it took a minute for me to. There's one particular guy, his name's Jimmy, he lives in upstate New York, just salt of the earth, such a great guy. And I was nervous to call him. And so, but I knew I needed to because I knew he'd be one that would be willing to help me. And I actually sent him a text and I just said, hey, I've been thinking about you. Would love to connect when you have a few minutes. And he was like, oh my gosh, honey, it's so good to hear from you. Call me now if you're free. And we chatted and he was like, anything I can do for you, gave me the name of somebody. And I kept watching that company to see if there was anything opening in the West, and they just haven't expanded West, they're only East. But I think that I was intentional about who I reached out to. I needed people who would say, oh, honey, it's good to hear from you. Not ignore me. I didn't need any further rejection.
I know that feels always really good. No, thank you very much for sharing that out. That was definitely very inspiring, and you definitely give me some pointers on kind of making those types of connections because it definitely will. It's nice to be able to reach out to people and not have that feeling of isolation. You really have to interact, which is kind of why I spend a lot of time volunteering, just so I can go out and reach to people and feel like I'm doing something for the better good. So thank you for
I like that advice. I'm actually like, oh, I wish that I would have done that too. It might have been helpful for me.
yeah, yeah,
Like,
definitely very filling. Thank you.
mhm.
Next up is Justin. She did actually do something for the greater good. She actually sang a big thing at the tabernacle.
Oh,
That
I
was
did.
for the greater good, right?
Oh, I did. A friend of mine, I made a comment one day about how she said, do you miss New York? And I said, oh my gosh, I miss it so much, but not like that like I want to move back. I just miss it. And so I think one of the things I miss so much is just how at my fingertips I had access to so much entertainment, and I love live music and theater and all of that. And she told me about this interfaith choir, and they were singing I don't know, some Lamb of God and they're performing at the tabernacle. She's like, you should do it. And so I did. It was really wonderful. I loved it so much. I actually, you know what? I think that was really helpful for me. Now that I think about it, it got me out of the house twice a week. I met new people and I sang. It was good for me. Yeah, it felt good.
I sang once at the Tabernacle and they never had me back.
Okay,
They
Justin.
didn't want to be upstage too much, so they're like, we're just gonna do that.
Congratulations, Stacie. Did you only use your network exclusively for looking for jobs?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I did reach out to people that I didn't know, but I knew, I was somehow connected.
Okay.
So I did do that where, yeah, so I would ask the person I'm connected to, would you make an introduction or would you be willing to, like, would it be okay if I use your name?
Mhm.
And so there was one person, it was probably like the most like cold call that I made. It was a company I was very, very interested in. And in fact, it would have doubled my salary. And so that was something I had to get real, and Hawaii was helpful for me because I realized like don't make money the priority. Like truly like go after what you really want to do. But that job, I was focusing on the money, I'll be honest. And I reached out to this guy who I didn't know. And I just said, hey, I received your name from so and so. And I'm interested in this job. And I know that you did it before. And can I ask? Can I have a conversation with you? And I even asked him like if he had like 20 minutes. And he I had the call with him, and then I was really respectful of his time. And so I just said, we're reaching the 20-minute mark. I remember this so clear. And I don't want to, so I want to be really respectful. And he was like, oh no, we're in good conversation. I've got time. We ended up talking for over 2 hours. And he wrote a recommendation for me to the VP of sales and said, hey, I just met her. I think she's really great. It'd be amazing for the job. Um, that was really validating to me of just the power of using your network and then also just having confidence and knowing like what you have to offer because people want to work with good people.
Mhm.
And so I think confidence goes a long way to be able to show that to somebody. And yeah, I was surprised. I didn't know he did it, but I heard through the grapevine that he had reached out. And then I got interviews. But I had to respectfully walk away from that one because I knew at the end of the day I wanted the money, but I didn't want to spend my time doing a job.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I like your discussion on taking a vacation. Like, I haven't taken a vacation. Haven't thought about it.
Yeah,
So
do it. And whatever that looks like to you. But get
yeah.
away from your house because it allows you to clear your mind and get perspective.
Okay. Appreciate it. And
Yeah.
Schedule is good. I need to work on that too.
Yeah.
So
Good. I'm glad there was some takeaways.
yeah, no, appreciate it.
Mhm.
That's all I got, Steve. Thanks.
All right. Next up is Jason Trowbridge, the other Jason. Actually, we'll hop over to Brad. Brad, are you there?
I am here. I don't have any questions, but want to say congratulations and wish you all the best in your new adventures.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I have to tell you all, I'm having a moment of genuine, I don't know if regret's the right word but I'm having that moment, that realization of not tapping into this meeting every Monday. I think it could have been really valuable for me. I'm happy to be here today and thank you for welcoming me. Um, and I wish that I would have come. I can already tell just the energy in the room. I wish I would have come.
Thanks. Next up is Roger.
Hi. Well, congratulations. It's always nice to get a new job. I truly believe that um, the universe has a job for all of us, and it's just a matter of time before that job comes. And the universe is not going to really allow us to go out there and to get a job until we are ready for a job. So, and you took your time and took a vacation, and that really helped you a lot. And your opportunity to came move forward, and you took it. So, congratulations.
Thanks, Roger. I appreciate that. I agree with what you said.
Roger, I think you're right. It's the timing, and sometimes the timing's longer for some than others. And I'm sorry to say that is life. Um, Dustin, are you there? Okay, I think we have one more, and I think we got everybody who I called on, and that would be the other Jason.
Oh, well, hello, Stacie. Nice to meet you.
You as well.
Um, you're talking about, the people that you were, I don't know what to say, the people back at the old job. And yeah, survivor's guilt is what it is, I think. Yeah, because we've seen other people get laid off, and we know that feeling. But what surprised me was the people that did reach out were people, a lot of them that I didn't expect to. And I didn't realize that I had that much connection with them that they would then initiate a contact with me. It was very it was a good compliment, and it was made me wonder if I had missed out while I was still there. But the one thing about what you talked about with your previous job that really stuck with me is how much it sounded like mine, in terms of really felt like I was doing good work. I mean, I was helping other people in what I was doing, and not surgery, not present in a surgery, but we made airbags, so help prevent deaths and crashes. That seemed like good work, and looking for something that has that value to me again in a new job a big has been a big challenge. I really haven't run into anything that's called to me that way, but it seems like stroke prevention or heart attack, not prevention. What is it the new procedure does?
The newest heart failure.
Heart failure.
Yeah, patients with heart failure. Um, I feel you, Jason. I really do, because like going to work every single day and feeling like we have a purpose, whatever that might be,
Right.
it really matters. We spend the majority of our day working, and so to have it taken away, it's like, okay, and we want it back. And so
Yeah.
what do you do to get it back?
Well, and like I say, you were talking about your other friend that worked for a place for 30 years, and that was my situation. And yeah, I mean, it was the majority of my life at that. Well, it was just half of my life at that point that I'd been there. And it's hard to picture anything else beyond that. Um, and it's hard to picture trying to tie into something that deeply again. Um, but yeah, like I say, it seemed like if it was the right job, it would just, yeah, I had prayed for a big sign in the sky that says, "This is the one you need to take." So far, I haven't seen it. But
If only it was that easy, huh?
yeah,
Thanks,
Yeah,
Jason.
take care.
Um, okay, I think I got everybody. Stacie, thank you for coming today, and thank you for sharing your story and insights. I think it was very helpful to people, and I think as I sit here and listen, I think the biggest thing they're walking away with, from hearing everybody else, is attitude, positive attitude, and it's that mindset that we had to change. So thank you.
You're very welcome. I believe every single person here, whatever our gift, our talent is, like the world needs it, and believe it, because people will feel it when you talk with them. So thanks for having me.
Thank you. This is Stacie Woodward. Thank you, Stacie. Everybody, let's get this real quick on the screen here. Big round of applause. Thank you.
Well, thanks.
All right.